Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Constellations Chamber Concerts. I am so excited to introduce all of the performers on today's program. So please welcome Christina Dahl, Rick Stout, Clara Lyon, and Hannah Collins. Thank you all so much for being here.
Our
Hi.
pleasure. Thanks, Ian.
So I thought that this program was particularly fun because we're featuring two couples that are navigating this strange new world together and still playing together. And so I thought it would be nice to talk a little bit about that first. So maybe Tina and Rick, could you guys just how are you guys doing? How's everything going right now?
We're doing well. We've been here 6 weeks that we've been completely isolated in Cleveland. Um, those of you who know me from my Stony Brook connections know that I teach in New York. And so on March the 13th, I packed up everything, drove back here, and this is where we've been. Rick is in the Cleveland Orchestra, and that was the last day they rehearsed on stage, was also March 13th. So our teaching, Rick teaches at Baldwin Wallace Conservatory and I'm at Stony Brook, has been all online. But we have a beautiful house in the east side of Cleveland. And so I don't know, we're doing good.
Lots of cooking and lots of dishes.
Yeah, yeah. And how about the playing together part? Is that something that you guys do all the time, or is it something that you're really focusing on right now, or?
Well, it's something we've done periodically. We made a recording almost 10 years ago now. But there's kind of a limited repertoire for trombone and piano. I think it would be different if Rick were a violinist. So mainly, I think we've been doing a lot of our own individual practice, actually, because having a regular schedule is actually very grounding in this time. And I normally always am rehearsing chamber music, so just practicing solo music is very cool. And I don't know, what have you been working on?
I've been continuing to teach and just finding practice projects to keep interested and to keep playing every day and just to sort of keep that work habit going. It is very centering, and I would miss making sound every day if I weren't doing it.
Yeah, yeah. No, what you just said about the schedule, that's been so important to me too. I feel like in the first few weeks of all this, I was in this like this moment of like every hour was work and every hour was not work, and it was somewhere in between all of these things, and really saying that no, I'm going to work for these normal hours of the day and then I'm going to stop and watch Netflix or whatever it is. That's helped me too. Um, so
For
and
sure. Yeah.
Clara and Hannah, how about you guys? You're in Chicago, right?
We are. I live here in Chicago. I play with the Spectral Quartet, and very lucky to have Hannah with me here in quarantine, also for about 6 weeks here in Chicago. The what Tina and Rick said about dishes and cooking resonates very much over
Big
here.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. This is actually the longest we have spent in one place together in quite a while. So we
Yeah.
are definitely really taking advantage of all of the mealtime opportunities and opportunities to explore our culinary interests. um, in terms of playing together, everything that we're playing for this program are pieces that we have played quite a bit together at various points over the last few years.
Yeah, surprisingly though, there's not like an enormous repertoire for violin
Right.
and cello. There's some really classic pieces, Kodai, Ravel, but it's not like violin and piano sonatas or something like that. So um, these are
Yeah,
pieces that we love, but there's definitely more room for rep there too.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that we're able to feature both maybe a classic piece from that repertoire for those two instruments today, and one that's not so classic. So maybe let's start with that. Can you tell us about the Ravel? I know that that is a classic. That's one that people have heard a lot of, and then also the Swedish tune. How did you find that piece?
Um, well, maybe we'll start with Ravel.
Sure.
So I mean, it's a duo that was written in memory of Debussy. who died in
Yeah.
1918, I think, and the piece is from a few years after that. So it is kind of interesting. It's, it's gorgeous. We were just talking the other day when we were rehearsing, like, of how striking it is. You hear violin and cello all day long, but then you hear this piece and it's like, what is happening? It's so beautiful and kind of unusual. But it's kind of from a time that's obviously very different from this, but similar in a sense that World War I had just ended. His friend and mentor had just died. There's a lot of complex emotions wrapped up, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. I think what Hannah said is true. Something that I love so much about this piece, and that I think is really, to me, unparalleled across the violin and cello limited repertoire that there is this just like the way that he uses the instruments, the sounds that he's able to pull out of the instruments for a piece that is still like quite tonal and doesn't have any real like extended techniques. I think what Hannah said is true. The way that he uses harmonics, sometimes you're like, wait, what instruments are playing?
Yeah.
And to have achieved that like 100 years ago, I think is pretty remarkable. So it's always fun to play this piece.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that like you sometimes forget that you're only listening to those two instruments when you're listening to this piece. If you're not watching people play it, the breadth of color that he's making is really amazing.
Totally.
And how about
this,
yeah, please.
Yeah, the Swedish piece is something that I heard on an album a long time ago, album by Alistair Fraser and Natalie Haas. It's an awesome cello, violin, fiddle duo album.
Yeah.
And then so we're playing their arrangement, which is like this gorgeous, really like resonant version of this piece. But the original is from this Swedish band called Vesson, which is like a fiddle, violin / viola, guitar, and then nickel harpa. So it's like this classic, original sympathetic string sound. And they have like an awesome tiny desk concert that you can check out. And the guitarist of that band wrote this waltz as, I think it was like a gift for his niece's baptism or something like that. So it's kind of more of a personal thing, but they play it a lot, and it's just a beautiful piece.
Yeah, I was so excited when you guys sent that as an idea of a piece to play. I'm a big fan of Alistair Fraser and Natalie Haas's, and to hear you guys play a piece or an arrangement of theirs is a lot of fun. So Tina and Rick, so let's talk about the music that you brought us. So the first piece, the Robert Schumann piece. Now I know, of course, that was not written for your orchestration. So who did that arrangement?
Well, no one really. I'm just stealing the cello music there, or the clarinet music, depending on which one you're looking at.
Yeah.
So really, just play it exactly off of the cello. There's no transposition or really anything different about it. It's a piece that we recorded. It's played with some frequency by trombonists who are often sort of, if we want to play anything from sort of the Romantic era, we're pretty much appropriating other music. So this is one of my favorites. Schumann is for sure one of my favorite composers. For Tina, I know as well. So this was an easy first thing to think of.
Yeah, I mean, to hear this classic piece, I've never heard it in this version before. So I feel like the trombone really adds a different layer to it. It makes me hear the piece in a different way. It's a lot of fun to hear that. And then Tina, we're pairing this with music by another Schumann. So how did that come about?
Romances of Clara Schumann, which it's nice because actually as a historical couple, they're one of the most interesting, the two Schumanns. They're in a little box remotely down at the corner.
Okay.
They shared a daily diary and weird stuff like that. But I actually heard I heard another pianist at Yellow Barn play this romance because Brett Dean did a really wonderful ensemble piece that incorporated the idea of the romance that's from Opus 21. That got me looking into the rest of her solo piano rep, which is unbelievably beautiful and not done much. And I hope maybe one small positive that'll come out of this pandemic awfulness is that maybe I'll be able to put together a solo recording. I've long wanted to do the 6 preludes and fugues of Mendelssohn, which are tremendous and also not done very much. It's about 1836, and I've been wanting to put those with something from the same, roughly the same time period.
Yeah.
They were kind of the same extended social circle. So anyway, I think they're both so lovely and evocative, these 2 pieces. And man, they just really stand up well to the Fantasy Stück.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, to me, when I hear it, that she's the sort of lesser Schumann at all.
Yeah.
She's really a fine composer.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I love to be able to put both of them right on the same level here and hear them back to back in this way. Well, great. Well, thank you guys so much again for sending these performances. I know our audience is going to love hearing them, and for taking the time today. Next up, we're going to hear those 2 beautiful pieces of Clara Schumann's, followed by Josephine's Waltz, this really nice Swedish fiddle tune. Hope you guys enjoy.